through the home remodification program first. So most of these are saying the bank has to try that first. If it doesn't work, they can move to the next program. This one has got 2 tiers to it. The first tier is going to be you're unemployed. So now what do? What we're going to do now if you're unemployed is, with the banks that participate, they will allow you to stop making any payments on your mortgage for up to 6 months so that you have time to catch up, get your life settled, see if you can get a job. So they're doing something now for unemployed people, because if they're unemployed, there's no way to help them anyway. So that's part of the program. Now the other one is going to be, how do we basically do a remodification or a refinance and attack the principal? So this one, you have to be current on your payments in order to qualify. It has to be owner occupied, and basically you have to have at least a decent FICO score, all right? So those are the qualifications, all right? Now, it can only be FHA right now, and here's what they're going to do. If there's only a first on it, the government comes in, and what they do is they buy out the loan, all right? So that basically FHA now takes it over. But the person that they're going to buy the loan for agrees to lower the principal at least 10% to 96.5% of its current value, all right? So therefore, if you have a $600,000 loan, they'll take $60,000 off of that and bring it down basically to $540,000. If there's a second on it, all right, they can reduce the loan to 115% of the property value, and they will do the same thing. The first and second will basically reduce the principal. FHA comes in, guarantees that loan. That's how they can sell it to private investors out there, and now you have a reduction in the principal, all right? Banks who participate are going to, again, get some incentives from the government. So that's a program that's out there. Now, the borrowers, they must at least agree to live 3 years in the property, because over that period of time, they're going to start to basically forgive what they've done in the reduction of principal, so they want them to stay in the properties for at least 3 years, all right? So that's basically what's going to happen out there with that one, all right? So let me now talk about the state programs, all right? There is a state program. There is a bill that just passed. It just passed recently. If you remember, we used to have something for new construction, if you remember, about a year ago, and then the money went out. It started in March. It was gone by June. Well, they just passed a bill, all right, and that bill was just passed. It's AB 183 if you want to look it up. And it was just signed by the governor, and it's going to take $200 million now and put it back into the system so that at the state level people can get another credit, all right? It's $100 million that's going to be basically put towards existing homes, and $100 million that's going to be put towards new homes, all right? So you can be either a first-time buyer or a repeat buyer, all right? That's a little bit different what happens depending who you are. If you're a first-time buyer, again, those rules are never owned a home or haven't owned one in the last 3 years. Under that scenario, you can buy a new home or an existing home. It doesn't matter. It has to be single-family residence, attached or unattached, and you have to agree to stay in that home for at least 2 years. What you can get is a credit, as long as it lasts, the money of up to $10,000 or 5% of the value of the property, whichever is less. No cap on the value of the property. The credit is going to be paid back to you in equal installments over 3 years. So you're not going to get the credit the way you do with the federal government all at once. It's going to be over 3 years. Here's the time frames. For first-time buyers, it's anything from May 1st through December 31st of this year. All right? That's the date that it is. And that's basically what has to happen. Now, if you're a repeat buyer, all the rules are the same, except for repeat buyers, you cannot participate in existing properties. It can only be new construction. And if it's new construction, here's the time frames. You must have purchased it between May 1 and December 31st, but because it's new construction, the close can go out to August 1st of 2011. So that's a brand new program that's out there from the state. It's been signed, sealed, and delivered. So the money is there, and it's going to be on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you have people, you need to get on the websites for the state and look up AB 183 and get your people involved and get them on that and get them applying so they can get it. The next thing is the state does not have the same forgiveness of debt law that basically the federal government has when it comes to short sales. So let's go through the federal law, which was signed in 2007. There is a law that says if you have a forgiveness of debt on a short sale, that under certain conditions, they will not charge you as income on your income taxes the next year. Now, what are those conditions? Well, the first condition is it's $1 million max if you're single and $2 million if you're married. That's what you can write off. The second thing is the money, you have to prove that you use the money that the bank forgives either to purchase the property or for renovation. If you refinance, if you took cash out, if you use the money for anything else, pay off high interest debt, buy a Hummer, take a trip, then that portion will be taxable because you didn't use it to purchase the property and you didn't use it for renovation. So there can be, even at the federal level, a tax consequence. At the state level, they're trying to pass a law that accommodates the same thing as the federal level. They had it at one time, but it expired over the last year. They have not been able to get that law passed yet, all right? The governor had it. He didn't sign it because there was something else in it that pertained not to that, but they were trying to pull through a bunch of other crap, to spend money. You know how they do that for some bridge or this or that or whatever, so he wouldn't sign it. So it's going back and forth. So right now, when you're dealing with short sales, there is going to be a tax issue on the state level because no matter what the bank forgives will be taxable at the state level, all right? So I think that's everything that I know right now that's out there. Of course, it changes daily. You know that. So these are all the new programs that they're talking about that basically they're saying. Now, I gave you something in your packets that I thought was pretty interesting, all right? This was out, and this was brand new, and this brings me into talking about real estate. I thought why this was very interesting is this is absolutely showing what's going on. We have the most fragmented, segmented real estate market that I think we've ever seen, probably in the 20 years I've been in this business. And by that I mean this. First of all, let's look at the buyers and sellers. You can't give me a profile of a buyer and seller the way you used to, all right? It's impossible. Because who are the buyers now? Well, we have all cash buyers. You have buyers that can get loans traditionally. We have buyers that if they can't get an FHA loan, they'll never be able to get in the house from now till Sunday. You have buyers that are investors that pay all cash. You have buyers that come in and want to rent these properties and hold them for a while. You have buyers that want to come in and basically what they're saying is, I want to buy this property and I want to flip it in 30, 60, 90 days. You have buyers that are going to come in that are hedge funds and pension funds and big groups of investors now that are going to go direct to the banks and they'll buy 200 or 300 of these properties. So we have like 8 or 9 different buyers in every single market that's out there. Now, what about sellers? Well, 40% of every sale done in the United States is now a foreclosure or a short sale. So that means that's the banks, right? You have new developers now who are sellers, and they're in competition with everybody. You have traditional sellers who are trying to work the market the way it worked years ago in the old world that we were in real estate. You have stressed sellers that don't want to sell, but they have to because they've lost their job or whatever has happened to them. You have sellers that are investors that are flipping these properties as soon as they buy them. So we have all kinds of sellers and buyers out there. And then, to top it off, I think this tells you you have all kinds of markets going on under one umbrella. So when you look at this, this is great. This goes back and it shows you there's 102 zip codes basically in the San Francisco Bay Area. Of those zip codes, 20 were up last year, 74 were still declining, and 2 were flat. But if you look at it, this is what was amazing. When you look at the largest price drops, and I was asking people, if you went into Oakland and you went into Richmond and you went into basically parts of Oakland or you went into Hercules in those areas, how much do you think that they went down? And there are people that will tell you, oh, they went down 30, 40, maybe 50% tops. That is not true. Do you know how much they went down? Look at this, 75, 76%. Now, those are the areas now that are coming up today. All right, because they have gotten to the point where they were so cheap that everybody was running in. If you go back and you look at Oakland last year, there were 200 properties under 300,000. If you go in and look on their MLS today, there's 17 properties. Now, one, inventory is down because the banks are hoarding it. We understand that. The fact is there's no more 300,000 properties in Oakland. They've all come up in price to the next level. So what was considered foreclosure a year ago is very different in hot foreclosure markets now. Those price points are going up. The largest price gains, because we said there's 20 zip codes that are basically going up in value. San Francisco up 10.4%. But then you go look at San Francisco, and let's go look at it, because